This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library
enough, you can get the Truefire All Access Pass for as cheap as they ever do it, the $99 thing. So just jump and do that if you're looking for the best price you can get Truefire All Access for.
So I had Orangewood reach out to me and they asked if I'd check out this guitar. Now, initially I was kind of thinking, well, okay, well, let's look at the specs of this. And, you know, sometimes, you know, a company that you're known for doing acoustic guitars, you think, right, we could do electric guitars. And I was thinking, well, is this going to be like a serious instrument or not? And then I kind of looked at the specs of it and I was like, actually, let's look into this. The first electric style guitar, see here it says semi, which should give you some idea of what's in here. Now, so close up. So it's a pretty nice looking instrument. And a really nice case, to be fair. And then the back is like this matte sort of mahogany, really nice locking tuners, vintage style buttons though. First of all, the case looks very, very good quality. The guitar itself, these are made in China, designed, I believe, and set up in America. Grover Deluxe tuners, locking, so that's a nice touch. A lovely satin finish, and a somewhat unique kind of design. And one thing that your tech's going to love, or if you were to go replace your pickups, I guess why would you? They're Seymour Duncan Seth lovers, so very good stuff. Oh, belly carve as well. So it's comfortable, but if you need to get to your electronics, if you were changing anything, that's super easy to get hold of because routed out here. So some nice design features in my opinion. It's not, you know, just a copy of something else. You know, I think they've made their own sort of design choices, and one of them being, you know, not to have 2 volumes, 2 tones. Yeah, it sits really comfortably when you're playing it too, and it's 24.75 inch scale length, so it's going to feel like a ES175 type. So, taking it out of the box, we'll get a little bit more into that towards the end of the video, but I've not changed anything on the guitar about setup or anything like that, so it is exactly as it came out of the box. And yeah, we'll get into some of the specs and stuff. The reasons why I think this guitar, actually, they've done some really, I think, awesome stuff here. What about this guitar looks particularly premium? Now, I think it's a really tidy build. If you're looking for flaws on it, like oftentimes if it's a cheaper guitar, you can find some bits and pieces, but there's not really anything on here that kind of gives it away, and for that reason, you know, I think it's partly down to build quality why this commands a slightly higher price than some other sorts of guitars that you might get from China. Now, there's 2 other really key ingredients here. So one is that they've used Grover Deluxe locking tuners. So those alone as a part are like £100 and so. So they've not skimped out on the hardware there. And then here, Seymour Duncan Seth Lover pickups. Those are £310 pickups, you know. So they've kind of gone, right, what are the parts of the guitar where we can make some meaningful investment to really make a guitar shine when it's a new guitar, which is possibly, you know, not going to be the first thing that people are going to go, right, I need one of them. So, hardware, pickups, they made some good decisions there. I also really like this coil split feature. Now, oftentimes with guitars with humbuckers, whether they're ES335s or Les Pauls or SGs, normally, unless they're P90 based, you're going to be giving up some of those sparkly sort of clean tones. But here, because we've got this, switch it up, you get some of that way more acoustic. Now, another reason that this guitar commands a bit of a higher price is that although it's made in China, the setup takes place over in America. And it is a really slinky feel to it. Talking of slinkies, I think they've stuck a set of Ernie balls on here, right? the overwhelming feeling for me is that when I'm playing it, I'm getting that kind of the semi-acoustic vibe that is oftentimes not really there with a semi-acoustic. Another thing I think I really like, and I think maybe this is doing something, you know, in my brain, is being able to see the mahogany so clearly. So this is a satin, beautiful finish, so really comfortable in the hand. But the fact that you can see it, I think, let's go with that. Sometimes when I play some guitars, I have like, you know, a very like red finish or white finish, whatever is on there, it kind of takes away to me some of that, even if it's entirely in my head, that feel that you're actually playing not just an electric guitar, that this is a semi-acoustic. It's lightweight, it's lively. The frets feel good. The action is low, maybe even too low for me personally. It's got the Gibson scale length. All around, I think what they've got here is a very good first, you know, instrument that I think people are going to really enjoy. If you can get your hands on one to try it, I would encourage, you know, do Orangewood show up in shops in America? I've never seen one in the flesh in person, but I think that it's a really well thought out design. Also, you know, F-holes on the front is going to give your tech normally a bit of a nightmare. But this one, you've got easy access on the back there. So if you are getting in there to change the electronics, then that's really good news. Now, on that note, when this guitar arrived, I presume through no fault of Orangewood, it's just one of those things by chance. Like, these switches can take a knock. And it just so happened that this knock had knocked that switch off. So when it first arrived, I sort of panicked. I was like, what am I going to do? And luckily, I've got a neighbour, John Martin, who is a guitar tech and clever. But he kind of said, uh-oh, an F-hole. And then he was like, right, actually, I think we could do something like that. So we just refitted this back on. And the other thing is, like, just replacing the electronics, if you were going to be doing anything like that, is just going to be a bit of a breeze, because instead of having to fish in through the F-holes, they've just made it so you can get in through that back plate there, which I think is a pretty, you know, novel and frankly just sensible thing to do. So getting away from some of the traditional things and building an instrument that takes some of what's great about like the classic stuff, whether that's scale length or hollow body design, or, you know, using some of Seth Lover pickups who designed the original Pathright. But yeah, just packaging it all together in, I think, quite an attractive blue, and yeah, lightweight mahogany, decent, very, very decent. You'd expect it to be for the money, but, you know, there's things about this that I just think, you know, if I was looking at an ES335, I wish they came by standard having a coil split on them, because I think there's this jangly tone here, sparkly tone, that is just missing from most, you know, semi-hollow guitars. Cheers for stopping by. Cheers to Orangewood.